So, today we're going to dig into a blueprint for navigating life's biggest challenges, and we're pulling it from a source that's been a guide for people for literally thousands of years. All right, let's just jump right in with a feeling I think every single one of us knows. You know the feeling of being completely and totally lost? Like you're stuck in your own personal crisis, wandering around with no map and no idea where to go next. The ancient text we're looking at today has this really powerful way of describing that feeling. I mean, hungry and thirsty, their soul fainted in them. That perfectly captures that soul-crushing moment where you just feel like you've got nothing left. So when you're in that spot, where do you even begin to look for a guide? Well, our source points us to this incredible ancient song of survival, Psalm 107, as a kind of framework for understanding what rescue actually looks like. But see, to really get this psalm, you have to understand the backstory. This isn't just some abstract poem. It was very likely written by people who had just come home after being exiled in Babylon for 70 years. Think about that. This is a song written by actual survivors of a massive national crisis. And what's really fascinating is that inside this song, there's this clear four-part pattern that just keeps showing up again and again. It always starts with a crisis, which leads to a cry for help. Then comes the deliverance, and it all wraps up with thanksgiving. This cycle of rescue, it's basically the engine driving the whole psalm. Okay, so that's the pattern of rescue. But here's the thing. The psalm does more than just describe it. It actually gives a core command, a call to action for what to do when you find yourself in that cycle. Let's break that down now. According to our source, the absolute key to resilience, the central thing we're supposed to do, is found right here in the second verse. It's a direct command, and we're about to unpack it piece by piece. So first up, who are the redeemed? Well, the text keeps it pretty simple. It's anyone who has been rescued, anyone who's been pulled out of their personal crisis. It's like being given this new identity, a new status. Then you've got that next part, of the Lord, and this is absolutely crucial. It makes it crystal clear that this rescue didn't happen because they were so strong or so clever. Nope, the credit for this deliverance goes to a higher power. And that brings us to the action part, the verb, tell their story. See, this isn't about just sitting back and being rescued. The command is for the redeemed to become active storytellers. The most important action you can take is to testify, which leads to the big question, right? Why? Why is telling your story, your testimony, so incredibly powerful? Especially when, let's be honest, you might feel like you're still smack in the middle of a crisis. Okay, so the analysis here makes this incredibly bold claim. It says that sharing your experience of being rescued is way more than just talking. It's a powerful force, an active tool that can actually help change your circumstances. And to back this up, our source points us to another spot in the Bible that directly connects the word of their testimony with the power to overcome whatever you're facing. It's right there. But how does this actually work? Well, it's not just for everyone else listening. Telling your story does something for you. It forces you to remember what God has already done. It fuels your own hope for the future. And it reminds you that He's still at work even when it feels like nothing is happening. Plus, it connects you to other people who get it. And you know, this is where all these big, ancient ideas suddenly get very, very personal. It all comes down to the story that each and every one of us is living right now. So here's the final takeaway, and it's kind of a beautiful paradox. While the details of our crises, our own personal wilderness journeys, are all completely unique, this ancient framework shows us that the pattern of crisis, cry, rescue, and testimony, well, that's a shared human experience. And that really just leaves us with one last thing to think about. If this pattern is true, and if there's real power in the telling, what story of redemption do you have to tell?